Good morning, welcome. It is another Sunday morning. You've got three lovely, illustrious hosts in addition to myself at the Speaker's Corner. That means that there are four corners this week. I am Jeff Wheeler. I'm here under the shadow of the beautiful Gold Dome here in downtown in lovely Atlanta, Georgia, looking up at it, and I see a blue sky. Wonderful things. I might actually get the drone out there to take a few more photos today. But I am here first to speak to you about the things that matter to me, the things that matter to my co-hosts. And so let me introduce this wonderful and illustrious cast. I will start with, let's start with Michelle Lynch, who is down in Gainesville, Florida. Say good morning, Michelle.
Good morning from Gainesville. Hopefully I'll be seeing you from someplace else soon.
To be continued. And let me go ahead and take my neighbor to the north here in Johns Creek, Georgia. Say good morning, Frank Heathington.
Good morning. It's my cup today. I'm Grumpy Cat today.
You are Grumpy Cat. And the glare makes it so beautiful. And that will take us to our most astute and Yankified current host, which is Tom Holm.
Yeah, I'll take the latter, maybe not the former. Good morning, you all.
Well, and I love those brown cans you're wearing. Those are a fashion statement so much more than my own. And
brown and blue.
So fashionable. I wish I could just hang on to your fashion. I literally just watch your news feeds so that I know what fashion is doing these days. It's true. It's true.
I'm also wearing my spray art. I think I've worn this on the show. Maybe I'm not on the show before. This is my
Kylo Ren?
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was about to say. Okay.
Nice.
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 Oh, wait. I'm wearing my DuckTales shirt.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't have any cool print on right now. I've just got this new Uniqlo shirt. Did I say that right? Uniqlo? Or is it Uniqlo?
What are you talking about?
My shirt.
Uniqlo. It's like a Japanese H&M.
Yes.
Oh,
That's the best way I can
shirt.
describe them. Yeah,
but they do a really good job of
instance.
designing things.
Mm-hmm.
They care about the design. Like, I got this shirt, and instead of sticking the tag through the actual cotton with one of those little plastic things that they do all around America, there's a little loop that is hung around the back collar that you can actually thread the thing through so that it doesn't mess up your shirt when you hang a tag off of it.
Oh,
So
that's
brilliant.
thoughtful.
The one thing I will warn our viewers at home, and they do a good job, I think, on some of their clothing of warning you, is because they're a Japanese company, they're predominantly sized for Japanese. Yep, they will warn you. Our sizes tend to run smaller than Americans are used to, so
Yes.
be
So if you're
warned.
normally a large, be careful.
Yeah, you might want to bump it up.
So we have a great show here set up for you, mostly because we haven't been able to espouse publicly our opinions on these topics in quite a while. So I look forward to hearing what my compatriots here have to say about the world that is currently. And so
what is
I'm going to
on your
start.
mind first, yeah?
What's that?
What is on your mind first?
Well, I think first we need to start with the coronation ceremonies that are in the process right now. Who is going to be our next president? This is in the news every single day. Every single day we're discussing whether Donald Trump is going to be the show, whether the Hill is going to win, or whether we're feeling the burn, or if you want to thump on some cruising. I do not know what all of our compatriots here are currently feeling. There is a certain reality that may have existed before, but there is a whole new reality as things have come to expose themselves. So I guess I just wanted to open the floor for conversation on the current state of our electoral process.
I just wish I could have thought about this and watched our last episode just to be like, oh, we were so young and naive 3 months ago, you know.
The last episode was so 2015.
Was it?
It was. It was literally last year.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're terrible people.
Wow. But we're here now, and so it's
here.
really about what you're doing, not about what you didn't do. Huh?
Good.
Huh?
All right.
So we'll give a little time frame for people that are going to be watching this in the future. Over the last 3 months, Trump has gone from a candidate of Saturday Night Live value to a realistic chance of being and statistically speaking a high probability of being able to be the president.
No, I think but the third act is he's now sliding towards the contested election and ultimately not
Correct.
getting the
Correct.
nomination.
He's sliding towards that, but statistically speaking, he is the front runner in electors going into the convention.
Yes.
Right. He has more. He has more pledged delegates than any other Republican nominee, and Ted Cruz is behind him and is making some traction, but it's staying where it is. You know, Trump is getting more in the current. It's not really gaining. Cruz is not really gaining on him that heavily.
He doesn't have to, though. He just needs to all he needs to do is keep him from that, what's it, 1237? There's like these random numbers, or 1235. It's
Yep.
All he has to do is keep him from achieving that first
1237.
Gotcha.
ballot. Hey! All he's got to do is keep him from reaching that, and I have to say, I think he's got it locked.
So
You think
we've
that Ted
got-
Cruz has it locked to go to a contested convention?
If it goes to a contested convention, I think he's got it.
According to the AP, right now the delegate results are 744 for Trump, 559 for Cruz. I guess Kosh is still in it. 144.
Kasich.
Kasich.
My man.
Kasich, whatever.
Kasich?
Kasich.
Mayor Koch is dead, and he's not
Oh,
a
is he
Republican.
dead? Oh, okay.
Ed Koch, dead.
Dead.
Wow.
And there's
yes.
838 delegates still available.
How is there 838 delegates still available?
Because you still have New York and California left, and those are huge states.
Huge. Yep. So if Trump gets 50% of the 838,
I
right?
think he doesn't he have to get 60%
yeah,
to
probably has
move
to get
past the
60%.
threshold.
I think so. Yeah,
Something
744.
that he's never done. I think the closest he's done is in Massachusetts. He got 50 some odd percent.
What if Kasich or what is right? Did I get that right?
John Kasich, yeah.
Kasich. What if he gives his votes to Trump or his delegates to Trump?
He can't, because depending on the state, they're obliged, depending on how the state, you'd have to go state by state rules because it gets confusing. Like some states, you are required to vote as you were elected to vote in the first ballot. Some can become unbound if a candidate drops out, I think.
But at the same time, I mean, you're looking at this, and there's other guys that have delegates. Carson, who's already pledged for Trump, right?
Marco.
Yeah.
Bush
Yes.
has delegates. Rubio has a significant amount of delegates.
He's got DC.
And what about the super delegate?
There are
That's
no
the
super
different
delegates.
party.
Yeah, that's the other party.
Oh.
We can talk about them though.
Yes, we could. But
Go ahead.
and so the Democrats were looking at actual pledged delegates, which are done by real caucus or primary or these kinds of things. And the number to get is 2,383 is the needed number. And currently, pledged delegates, Hillary Clinton has 1,289, and Bernie Sanders has 1,045, which is fairly close. But when you look at the overall delegate counts, because Hillary Clinton has super delegates, which is this shill of a concept, in my opinion.
Shill of a concept. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
You say I keep using it. I just started using it. I still don't know what it means. But she has 469 of those. So if you look at the overall picture, she has 1,758 and he has 1,076. So when you look at those numbers, it's pretty obvious that Clinton is going to end up being nominated. But when you look at the actual voted for delegates, and it's pretty close. Do we think that there's going to be any chance of a contested convention for the Democrats?
Yeah.
No.
You say it's close. I still see almost 2,000 delegates still available.
Right.
I'm not sure this is close. I'm not going to call this to be close at all yet. Or not close. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I'm calling this for Clinton.
Over.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, but let's say Clinton holds on to those super delegates, which seems likely and reasonable.
And they
but
can
Sanders,
vote either way.
But Sanders continues make gains in the actual pledge delegates, the actual elected delegates. And he ends up with more pledge delegates than Clinton. But she has enough, since there's only 2 of them, he gets 45% of the total delegates, which is better than her 38% of the total delegates. But she has all of the super delegates, which means that she wins the actual thing without winning the popular vote.
Not necessarily. The superdelegates can change their votes. They have until the actual floor of the convention to change their vote. So if they're seeing that everything is going towards Sanders, they may bail on her. You don't know.
I think we're about to move into the third act, though, for the Democratic Party, just like we saw it for the Republicans, where I think this is just me being a pragmatist. I think the surge of Sanders ends in New York and Pennsylvania, and we see it kind of the keels even out. What's amazing, though, and here's the thing: is first off, we should do a history lesson about why the Democrats put the superdelegates in place.
Please explain.
I believe it follows the problems from the '68 Democratic Convention, which led to riots outside. That was Humphrey. This was
was that
Kennedy was on track to win the election, and then Chicago, I think.
Okay.
Hubert Humphrey.
Chicago.
Trial
And
of
Hubert
Chicago
Humphrey. And Hubert Humphrey was ultimately the nominee, and so I feel like it came out of that convention that they created the concept of the superdelegate, so that there could be this lever that the party could pull if they were or they had a way of influencing the election.
To make it so it's not so 1 or 2 votes one way or the other.
And here's the brutal thing that, when I see a lot of people who are complaining about the undemocratic values of the primaries, they don't have to be democratic.
Nope.
And I mean with a lowercase d, not like the uppercase D.
Right.
This is the party doing whatever. If they want to ultimately say, thank you for your input, we've decided that this penguin is going to be our nominee.
Right.
They could do it as long as it's in their bylaws. There's
right.
nothing that says it has to, the founding father said it should be this way. It's like they're making this up, and they can change it every election, just like the Republicans tried to change the rules following Mitt Romney. Obviously blew up in their face. The party system and the primaries have almost historically been an undemocratic process.
Yep.
But
we don't teach that in our schools. We teach everybody everything is democratic and that's the way it's supposed to be, but that's not really what it is.
No, sadly.
It just is not.
That's
and
why
this
they don't get my
goes
money.
again to everything in our election process not truly democratic, little d democratic. I mean, we just elect the Electoral College. We don't actually elect the president.
I thought we lived in a republic.
We do.
A constitutional republic.
A constitutional. That is correct. That is correct.
So I'm going to place my bets. Here's my bets. My bets is if I had to put money down, I'd put good money down on Cruz to get his nomination. I might hedge my bets on the DNC because I have an inclination to what I think is going to happen, but I'll admit that I don't know. It's still tea leaves on
really
the side.
it's more up in the air for you on the Democratic side than it is on the Republican side.
At this point, yes.
Wow.
California has 475 delegates still. New Jersey has 126. Indiana.
From what I understand, California is in the shill for Trump.
No.
That was on purpose, Tom. That was on purpose.
DNC.
Oh, right. But still, there's a huge number of delegates for California on the Republican side. And it's in the tank for Trump, from what I understand.
Right, but I'm talking about the Democrats.
Okay.
Was that what you were talking about, Tom?
Is Hillary polling strong in California?
Actually, I haven't seen California's numbers, but I would garner to wage yes.
Okay.
Garner to wage. But
I know
again,
I'm giving
as
you
I
these
said,
words all over again.
If I had to bet money, I'd be more confident betting on the Republican side than I at this point. Than the Democratic side.
I would agree.
Ask me this question Wednesday.
Yeah, after New York, it's going to be a different picture all over.
Because that'll see, like, because I've been seeing that Sanders has been,
Isn't
at
New
least
York
in
a
the
winner
city,
take all
doing
state?
successful, and he's been really making a big push upstate as well. But the proof will be in the pudding. Thank you.
But New York is a winner take all state, right? You get 50%.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it's a split state. I don't think there's really much of any leftover winner take all states. I don't think there's any significant amount of delegates that are winner take all. Which, I mean, that takes it to, let's look at Wyoming that happened on April 9th. There were 14 delegates available. Sanders won the election, but both of them got the exact same number of delegates. And that takes to the picture of why this thing is so close, is because they are proportional delegates in most cases, and whenever it's 49-51, there's not enough delegates to split that out. And you end up with exactly the same number of delegates.
It's all hoodoo, I tell you.
Hoodoo voodoo. Which is why I say I'm not going to try and call that one until a little bit later.
Oh, man, I hope Sanders wins. I really do.
You really want this to be a battle for the heart and soul of capitalism.
I think that Sanders comes by his political beliefs much more honestly than anybody else, even in the race in whole.
Right.
I could concur with that.
I'm impressed.
He comes by it honestly.
I'm impressed that he got to in your mind like that, Jeff. That's great. I agree.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe in all of what he believes in, and I don't agree with what he wants to do, but I think he comes by it honestly. And so when you're dealing with somebody who comes by their beliefs and their concepts honestly, you can deal with them in an honest fashion. You know? You're not always worried about backdoor dealings and whatnot along those lines.
True.
And then, to be honest, right behind him is Donald Trump, who's broken in his own right? But he believes kind of what he believes, and he doesn't really give a damn what anybody else has to say.
The only thing he believes is that he's awesome.
Correct. And he makes great hats. Great hats.
And he's got large hands.
I think the podcast needs a trucker-style hat, just like Trump.
Oh, you think so?
That would be
And it says, "Make the internet great."
Make the internet great again. Oh, jeez.
Get on that, Frank. You're our
Get
stylist.
Love it.
It's got
Who
to
do you
be
think's gonna win,
obnoxious
Frank?
red with yellow.
Frank, who do you think's going to win?
win what? The election?
The primaries.
Oh, the primaries?
Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunately not going to be my man Casey. Because he makes too
Kasich
much
is a
common
rational
sense.
choice, but this is not an election about rational choices.
So I think this is what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a contested election. Cruz is going to come out ahead, and the Republican Party is going to tear itself apart.
Yes, that would be awesome. I'd really enjoy that. I would really enjoy that. I think Trump gets the most delegates walking into the convention, and then some shambles happen, and we end up with a Trump candidate in spite of the fact that he is not the Republican candidate.
Oh, you think he runs third party?
Third
Yes.
party. Yeah.
In a heartbeat, he would run third
He
party.
said he was going to run third party. If he doesn't get the nomination, he's going to run third party.
Oh, I thought
He said that.
if they didn't treat him fairly, he said he would run. Whatever the hell that means, right?
Well, if
Right.
he gets the most delegates, but doesn't get the nod to be the Republican candidate, he's going to
That's
say it's unfair.
What if they give him a really nice gift basket at the?
It's all about the swag, isn't it?
conference?
It's all
Yeah,
about the swag.
some a nice setup in the green room. That's treating him fairly. Oh.
Yep. And if Bernie wins New York, right, or even splits it in New York, I say that he has a chance to win the whole thing.
More than that, because that's if Sanders wins New York, and I don't care that. Yeah, well, Bernie
By
Sanders was
one
born.
vote.
Bernie Sanders was born in Brooklyn. Yeah, but he hasn't been in the city since the '60s.
Right.
He's from Vermont.
Right.
He was raised in Brooklyn, but he's from Vermont. If he comes in and wins in ostensibly Secretary Clinton's backyard, that's the equivalent of the Rubio failure in Florida. So yeah, if Sanders wins New York, that's a tectonic level shift as far as I'm concerned.
He's got the election.
Because suddenly Pennsylvania is in play, and Pennsylvania is currently not in play as far as I'm concerned. And so then suddenly all those safe states for Clinton become questionable now.
Right.
And to quote the Don, A Sanders win would be huge.
Huge. I would love to see a real presidential election between Bernie and Trump. That would be so much fun.
That'd be an interesting debate.
Wouldn't it? No, I'll tell you, I'm great. And God, those guys. Two crotchety old men getting after it.
It'd
That'd
be
be a lot of
Trump
yelling.
comparing shoe sizes and hand sizes all over again.
Ooh.
All right, so let's move on to something a little more intellectual. In this past week, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, was quoted very appropriately at a local university there in Canada, and he was at some computing convention, and he said, and a reporter says, "Well, I was going to ask you about quantum computing, but I guess I'll ask you about this foreign policy question." And Justin Trudeau says, "Well, thank you very much for your question. Well, the difference between quantum computing and regular computing is," and then he goes into an actual rational explanation about why quantum computing is awesome. And everybody on the internet literally gave him a high five. They went, "Dude, yeah, do it." And I cannot think of a single politician here in the United States that would have been able to appropriately and adequately explain quantum computing. Even John Kasich.
Mary Landrieu.
I'm going to disagree.
What?
But there you go.
One?
Al Gore.
Al Gore.
That's
Al
right.
Gore invented
Al
it.
Gore. He invented the internet, so he probably does understand quantum computing.
Oh.
So speaking on that, I'm going to go to another news story, which was Cirque du Soleil canceled all of their North Carolina shows based on House Bill 2, which has to do with transgenders in bathrooms and all this kind of stuff, and the equal protection of those of mixed sexualities and all of these kinds of gray areas. Well, I said mixed sexualities. That's probably
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop you right there, Jeff, because you just blew up the conversation before you even started. This isn't an issue of sexuality, because that's who you desire to be with.
Correct.
This is gender identity, and
Correct.
gender identity is separate from sexuality.
And I was thinking of the second part of this particular topic, which was our phone company here in Atlanta, Georgia, called 373K, actually disincorporated, closed their corporation in the state of Georgia based on the fact that they passed a law in our state House and Senate saying that you could deny services based on the fact that somebody is gay and these kinds of things. And that had to do with sexual orientation stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I guess my topic, by bringing up both of those, is can I give a hurrah to companies making business decisions based on their political leanings and being able to vote with their dollars to move their taxes away from where it is?
America!
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So
you
with
can.
that, you would, even though I misspoke before, would you support that?
Absolutely. The one thing that I do, and this is like, I can't remember what beer company it is in North Carolina that wrote kind of a, they are in Charlotte. It's what's it, New Belgian Ale, kind of put out a letter that they had just opened a factory in Charlotte and were planning to keep the factory. But they were big ones. They were big backers of the initial bill that got this whole thing started, which was when Charlotte passed the ordinance protecting the rights of both transgendered individuals and the LGBT and the larger LGBT community in large. And then North Carolina basically, and this is what I love, is when conservative politicians suddenly, who seem to be, we want to decentralize powers until we get to the state level, and then we're going to exert the hell out of our centralized powers, because suddenly the capital, the state legislators are like, no, cities cannot pass ordinances that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what? I'm sorry, if I understand some very core conservative principles, wouldn't you be lauding that as, yes, local governments should decide and be able to do these things?
Right.
I don't know.
Unless it goes against what we want them to do.
Unless it goes against what we want, and then
Right.
hammer. But back to this beer company, they said, we believe in, we're going to stay in this community, try to fight and work for those what we fight before. So I feel conflicted. I not conflicted. Both support the people who are going to basically boycott the state, but also I believe that a blanket boycott may hurt those companies that are currently working and fighting. So it's also
Right.
don't do it carte blanche of boycotting everything. Look into those companies because some people are on the ground still fighting, still advocating, even within their own walls.
Because it's their
And
home,
so,
and they want their home to not be a blight.
yeah.
All right, good
Is that
talks.
an acceptable answer? Anyone else?
Yeah. And speaking of a blight, there was a
I feel like I stepped in dog
broadcasting-
shit.
There was a broadcasting failure this past week. The Laura Ingraham radio show had a production failure where they weren't able to get feedback through the microphone, but they were still on air, but they didn't know that they were still on air. She thought she was talking to a dead microphone, and they were broadcasting dead air to the world, which is a big no-no in the radio environment. And so Laura Ingraham, who's a conservative talk radio host, then starts cursing up a storm and screaming at the producers, saying, "What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? We're going to lose every effing station, blah, 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 blah." It's pretty hilarious if you get a chance to listen to it. It's on SoundCloud. Which, by the way...
It sounds like the Bill O'Reilly breakdown on
Yes.
Current Affair. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When he's
was hilarious.
swearing at the teleprompter.
Yep. Which, by the way, if you need a new music service, apparently SoundCloud is the place to go. Because they have a deeper catalog than pretty much any other music service that you can then select whatever song you want to listen to and do
Yeah,
on their
but
premium
wait.
service.
Oh, okay.
There's a paid-for service on SoundCloud.
Now you got me. Yeah. As soon as you said the pay-for service, I was like, okay, I'm in now.
Yeah, there's a
thought it
paid-for service that not only lets you have a deeper catalog than anybody else, but you can also offline download. So you can look at and listen to songs when you don't have an internet connection.
Cool.
So there you go.
Spotify
Cool.
has podcasts now,
Ooh.
and Netflix has Animaniacs.
Yeah, that's right. I just saw it on my feed last night. That's exciting.
Yeah.
But Netflix is so losing all of the magic that they had. I mean, they don't have a lot of the programs that they used to have, all the movies and the TV shows that they used to have. They're kind of losing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, because the paradigm's changing.
Yeah.
All the separate networks and stations are all getting their own
Streaming service.
pay for, which
We
is
talked
you
about
know,
this.
best and
Remember we
worst.
talked about this like a year ago. We were talking about that a tipping point was coming when all the content creators would realize, wait, we're losing our piece of the pie at a steady clip. It's time for us to find a new way of getting back into the game. So you heard it here first, folks.
That's right.
Maybe not here first, but you heard it.
You heard it here before it happened. And that's good enough, really.
Damn with psychics.
Oh, you have a sidekick?
Yeah, didn't you see me?
Yeah.
Speaking of sidekicks, though, because he has a sidekick. So this goobly gob of letters that I put on the list that had Jeff totally confused. So Batman the Animated Series. We know and love. This was the BTAS on it. Batman the Animated Series, great, especially the early years when it was really kind of darkly drawn. Favorite of ours, maybe. I know it was a favorite of mine. They're bringing back most of the original cast and the creative team behind it to do one of the most famous Batman's comic book storylines, and famous and infamous, and I'll explain why in a second, which was Batman the Killing Joke. Batman the Killing Joke was penned by Alan Moore and Mark Boland? I always forget that guy's name. But Alan Moore, the famous Alan Moore of Watchmen and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Famous, single-shot graphic novel about Batman, and very violent and very controversial. And apparently it's gonna have Mark Hamill back as the Joker. It's going to have Kevin, the original voice of Batman from the animated series, is going to be voicing Batman. Basically everyone, Commissioner Gordon, Barbara Gordon, all these people coming back, and it's going to, more importantly, it's going to have an R rating.
Oh.
On an animated?
Yeah, well, yeah, because the Killing Joke is very, again, it's controversial, and I won't give you spoilers about what happens, but it's it's a very visually shocking book. So they're going to be releasing this as a motion picture. I don't know yet if it's going to have a theatrical release or not, but I'm very curious to see a very kind of grown-up Batman the Animated Series. I'm wondering if it's going to be too jarring to kind of like see it in that
to
context.
segue into that whole different environment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow.
But I just throw it out there. I'm more excited about this than I was at any point for Batman versus Superman.
Speaking of jarring, apparently Japan had a 7 point something on the Richter scale.
Wow.
Earthquake.
Wow.
7.
Always reminds us that the Earth can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants.
So,
And we're just here for the ride.
There's also an earthquake in Ecuador.
Oh, was there? But 16 apparently died in Japan. And then I said, well, how many people died yesterday in car accidents in the United States? And it's probably
but we
like
get
30.
car accidents every day. We don't get earthquakes every day.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So what's this on the topic for F-35?
Oh, I don't know. This is things that I know. Do we want to talk about that? I don't know if we want to talk about that.
Okay, skip it.
That's the Joint Strike Fighter 35, the new fighter plane that the U.S. military is building and is a boondoggle and expensive and apparently doesn't work that well.
Right.
It's like the new Osprey. If military budget people know what I'm talking about with the Osprey.
And they're still using F-18s in lieu of the F-35. And they can't get parts for the F-18 because, what was it, designed in 63 or something like that?
The F-18? Mm-hmm. Is that, no, it can't be that old, because like the F-18 replaced the F-16, which was, its peak was
78.
in the 80s.
78
was the F-15?
It looks like it.
Okay, thank you. This is supposed to replace, I think, the A-10, as well as the frontline fighters.
And the A-10 is just such a warhorse. I mean, it's just such a slow but so heavy and does things.
Sometimes ugly works, and it's cheaper.
Yep, it is.
What?
It's cheaper. It's like putting in everything with a hammer. You do it with an A-10, and it's like a really big hammer. Yes, you can put a screw in if you have a big enough hammer. You can knock a screw into a board.
Kitty!
Yeah.
Who's that?
This is Mustard. Say hi,
Mustard. Hello, Mustard. Welcome to the
Hello,
internet.
Mr. Mustard.
Mr. Mustard.
Hi.
Mustard, the internet loves kitties.
Yes,
They
yeah,
do.
loves the kitty.
Oh, that's a
She's a
gorgeous
big
cat.
Yeah. All right, so
So is it time for things that piss Tom off that shouldn't piss Tom off?
Yes. I put up Garrison Keillor, which caused great consternation in the
My
back
heart
room.
is literally waiting for something that could possibly piss you off about Garrison Keillor.
It's not Garrison Keillor so much as... So I got an email 2 weeks ago, and it broke my heart. It was an email from Garrison Keillor to the New York fan base saying that... Because Garrison Keillor last few weeks has been in New York. He doesn't write me and going, hey, Tom, what's up?
that's what I thought.
I saw that you weren't in attendance last night, and I was wondering, was it something I said back in October when you were last here?
Or was I not playing that old piano?
You didn't do the Powdered Milk song, so I hate you now.
Yep.
No, it was a kind of a call for people to come for basically a late placement, because apparently, as much as they try to fight scalping, they'd had a big, because this is Garrison Keillor's last time in New York, because he's giving out the reins of the show.
Right.
So I guess there was a big press by the scalpers, and so there was upwards of like 500 seats empty at the town hall. Yeah, and so he was saying it broke my heart to be doing the show and just to with that many seats empty, you can see it. Wow. So he was having the last weekend, this weekend as well. He was having a show up. We'll start handing numbers out at 3, and then at 4:30 we'll start placing people into empty seats. We may have to remove you if
People show
ticket
up.
buyers show up, but we want to make sure that the best we can do to try to prevent an empty house.
Wow.
And so I think they were able to place 40 people with I I don't know if they were free. I imagine they were free since they might have to yoink you or move you or whatever.
Right.
But yeah. So what pissed me off was like, scalpers. And then I'm like, yeah, but dude, in the past you have sold tickets. Sometimes at face value, sometimes at not. So it pisses me off, but it shouldn't piss me off because you've been on the other side of the coin, my friend. So.
Yeah. Well, that puts another week in the books. That puts another show in the books. And I am so grateful to be here with you people and to discuss the world as we see it, the things as we care about them, the interest that is this world. I'd like to say thanks to Michelle Lynch, to Frank Heathington, who's not on camera, which is pretty normal for him, to Tom Holm, and to these internets for bringing the tubes between us all together.
And mustard. Don't forget mustard.
Oh, and mustard.
Both the cat and the condiment.
That's right.
So I'm just going to bring it to all of our audience. You do not have to think like me.
You do not have to think like me.
You do not have to think like me.
But we ask you to think. So long.